There are other ways to stop being unhappy than using science, using reason.
Are you against like if they have
fucking with us, Sargon? You're totally fucking with us.
Why? Why would I be fucking?
It seems very anti who
like
you
you're
were
trolling
like
us.
some years ago, but
I have.
Are you coming out
reading an
against
awful lot.
science here?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Really?
You're projecting a disdain onto science that neither
Totally.
me nor
Undeserved.
Adam
Totally,
see
I'm
as
totally
deserving.
disdainful of science when it comes to how a human should live. Absolutely, and you should be too. And the fact that you're not is the problem, frankly. I'm not even saying science is like a bad thing.
No, but that's my point. It's just that this is what
You
people
did say
do.
science was a bad thing. What are you
Yeah, you
talking
did,
about?
actually.
Well,
You said science led us to the precipice, and we're all about to like fall into the ocean or something.
The point is that your standards aren't the only or best standards.
Yeah, neither are your standards.
Neither are yours. That's what I'm saying, Sargon.
Well-
I'm saying,
well,
why
by what-
are you forcing your standards on everyone else? I'm not the one doing that.
You can't escape the fact that essentially what the Enlightenment is. I mean, Bacon's the first part in Novum Organum, where he wants to use the mind to essentially defeat nature, right? And that's fine because, like, again, I would have been the same in the 16th
That's the
century.
human, but
'cause-
that's literally the human spirit,
no, that's
Yes.
not the human spirit.
quelling nature to our will.
No,
okay?
for thousands and thousands of years, it was living in harmony with nature.
Oh, what a hippie! Look at this guy.
Well, it's Aristotle.
What a treat! You're like the blue cat people. from
Aristotle's a
Avatar.
hippie now, is he?
Okay, listen. We're gonna chop up all the trees and we're gonna make nuclear power plants and we're gonna power amazing cities. I'm not gonna live in no fucking treehouse and shit.
I'm not saying we have to live in tree houses. I'm saying that we
You have to
come
hug
terms
a
with being
tree every
human.
day when you walk by.
No, I'm saying we have to come to terms with being human, right? And this is what the Enlightenment has failed to do. It's completely failed. Like it's pathologizing every aspect of the natural world as being oppressive to the mind.
It just seems like what's happening is I just don't think you can trace this all back to the Enlightenment. That seems very unfair to the
Enlightenment is
to
the
the
sovereignty of reason.
Enlightenment.
The sovereignty of reason. And the sovereignty of reason can only be done through the mind.
Right, but what I mean is that these things and these ways of looking at the world are just tools. And you have a bunch of people say, okay,
Sure.
maybe instead of trusting the divine God King, we should come up with this idea about reason. We should use reason to determine things. You go, oh, okay, that's great.
Okay, but this is hang on. Right, okay. Maybe it's because you're an American.
Okay.
But Americans do not understand the context of monarchy in Europe before the Enlightenment.
Okay,
right?
regardless.
There were no god kings.
Okay,
right?
regardless. I'm being hyperbolic.
It wasn't ancient Egypt
for the
right?
comedy's sake here. Okay.
But the thing is, this really matters because like it's like, okay, we're the Enlightenment. Okay, well, this is the sovereignty of reason, and that means that we are essentially denying the animal part of being a human, and we've been doing this for ages. You know, and you sit there and go, well, this is just a tool. It's like, yeah, but at this point, we're smashing it. We've got a hammer in our hands, and we're smashing apart our entire fucking house at this point. And these guys are like, yeah, right, we're going to smash down this wall, and then we'll have achieved utopia. And it's like, yeah, but I like living in a house.
You're falling into, I think, the same trap that the neo-Marxists are falling into here, with how they view oppression. Is that, I mean, I assume we all know how the mind works. Okay, people have an idea about something. Well, I'm thinking
no one knows how the mind works.
The three of us, okay? We all know that a human being already has like a preconceived notion of what they want or their opinion on something, and then they kind of generalize after the fact using quote unquote logic and reason to justify what they did.
Yes.
Okay. And so, but that's like, this is if we accept that, we have to understand that this is what you're talking about. Is that if you have a bunch of people who want to say, listen, I want to do whatever the fuck I want to screw children, or I want to, not wear pants in public, and nothing's a mental illness. They're just using whatever. That's where they're coming from. The Enlightenment didn't make them think that. Believing and reason didn't make them think that. That's the base that they want, and they're just trying to use the tools that exist to justify what they want.
Right. So again, like we've arrived at the point where the reason and the will is sovereign. Right, and it makes decisions in abstraction. If Vorsch lived 500 years ago, he'd be like a Catholic Bible thumper,
of course.
And he would
exactly.
So he wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
he wouldn't like. He is a product of his environment, and so the things that he says are logical extensions of the axioms that he begins from. Right, And so if he begins from the I'm a materialist, I'm a communist, blah, 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 then he ends up at those places. And he can't resist that because the logic has a force of its own. But if he began from a different perspective, as in God says this, he'd probably be a fucking monk or something if he wasn't a grifter.
Yeah, but as you said, he'd be the Bible. It would be worse because he'd be the Bible thumping guy out there trying to burn heretics in the street, as opposed to burning them on Twitter.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying that's not the case, right? But what I'm saying is that there are predictable consequences of the things we believe, and these go in a particular direction. And at the moment, we like going back to the tool, we're using reason to smash apart the things in nature that are hurting us, right? It's like, okay, good. But now we have extended that so far that merely being a human is considered to be a form of oppression.
So, I understand what you're saying. But all I'm saying is that, people have, like, it's kind of like saying, like, oh, we should stop science because someone created the nuclear bomb. Okay, it's like, people use things and tools in bad ways.
Yes.
So you stop the people from using the tool in that way. Like, this is
right.
Now, maybe this is me as an American, okay, and believing in
totally
the right to bear arms. But that's why I've always been like this. I don't think guns should be illegal just because bad people use guns to do bad things.
Sure, I don't think we can make thinking illegal, and I don't think that would be desirable. But you're
saying we should abandon the ideas that led us here because they also led crazy people to do crazy shit elsewhere.
I didn't say we should abandon anything. I said what we've got to do is recognize the trajectory that we're on. And the trajectory that we're on is essentially the obliteration of what it is to be a human being. And I don't think that's actually making anyone happier. I don't really think it's possible. I think this is a massive amount of hubris, like we see a lot of in science, frankly, where they think they can solve problems that, frankly, they don't understand well enough to be able to solve. And so we end up at a position where we're desperately trying to pretend and patch over the things that we're failing to actually do, right? And we need to start coming to a conclusion that there are other ways to stop being unhappy than using science, using reason.
Are you against... Like if they
you're
have
fucking with us, Sargon. You're totally fucking with us.
Why would I be fucking?
It seems very anti who
like
you were like some years ago, but
I have.
Are you coming out against science here?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Really? Anti-science position.
Well, look at where science has got us. I mean, who elected a single scientist to shut down our civilization?
So, but I mean.
No, seriously, tell me who the fuck, like currently in Wales, in one of the constituent nations of the United Kingdom, it's illegal to go to work and you get fined to go into work, but you get to go to the pub. A scientist came up with that decision.
Well, a politician came up with that decision.
No, a scientist came up with it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can trace it back to the scientists.
They absolutely did.
Again,
like we literally, I can name them if you want. I can name them. We have something called the Sage Advisory Group.
Okay,
so
wait
a minute. Aren't you saying kind of killed the messenger?
Wait, pause for just
whoa. Hey, that was good. You almost did Destiny perfect. Do it again.
I know.
Whoa. No.
Last year, during this or pre the Black Lives Matter, and we talked about this on Sunday, you had anti-quarantine, anti-lockdown people would come out and they would protest against it, and all the people on the left would say, oh my god, all these assholes are going to spread COVID, they're all protesting together in this crowd and they're not wearing masks or whatever. And then as soon as the George Floyd stuff happened, suddenly all the quote unquote people and experts would come out and say, well, it's okay for them to march because they're all outside and they're wearing masks and this is an important cause, blah 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 blah. Okay, that's not the fault of science. That's the fault of humans being biased assholes. And
science doesn't exist independently of humans.
The entire point of science and the scientific method is an attempt to eliminate the human bias for as much as possible when trying to solve a problem.
Yeah, and it turns out that's not true and it doesn't work. Science
no, it
doesn't
turns
exist
out that
independently
people
of humans.
often fail at it because it's very difficult.
Always.
Because
always
the natural state of a human, which I'm sure, since we're talking about nature here, is to be a biased individual.
Name me the person who is unbiased.
There is no one that's unbiased. That's
right.
the
So
point.
no one can do science as you're envisaging it.
No, because that's the whole point of doing science and things like double-blind studies. It's to try to remove yourself from as much of it as possible.
Yeah, but
There's
it's not working.
No, I agree with you. That's not going to work 100% of the time.
It's not working any percent of the time.
What? It's not working any. How are we talking right now?
Well, because engineers do trial and error. Scientists don't invent things.
Scientists? Wait. So like researchers,
Engineers aren't scientists.
And what? So okay. So scientists didn't come up with the
Engineers
idea, like,
have
the
existed
internet.
since the dawn of time. We're still using in Europe. We're still using Roman aqueducts, but they weren't scientists.
Okay. So we're coming up with a distinction between scientists and engineers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because there is one.
Mhm.
Like you've got to understand, right? Science is technical; it's all theoretical, whereas engineering is practical. It's done through trial and error, and this is why I'll send you Oakeshot's essay on rationalism in politics. Right?
I mean, Sargon is kind of destroying you here, Sitch. I don't really know.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait. Who? Okay. How did the internet come to be? Explain this to me.
But Tim Berners-Lee,
Mhm.
he didn't sit there with theories; he practiced.
He didn't use the theories and understandings that would be required for this technology. He just said, "I'm
Dude,
coming to this like from a
what-
blank
what-
individual.
what was
I'm
the
going to
name of
rub
the guy-
two fucking stones together and
what was
create
the name of the guy
computers and the
who-
internet."
Who invented the electric light bulb? So James Watts.
Thomas Edison,
I don't know.
right?
Well, Thomas Edison stole it. He didn't.
Do you think he knew anything about the theory of light
I have
or
no
electricity
idea.
when he did that? No,
I don't
but
know.
we do know he didn't. He didn't know anything about those,
So
but he
fucking
sat there and
stupid.
tested things, and through trial and error, got something to work. Because that's what engineers do.
This is
Right?
so
They
dumb.
don't need to know the theory of something to be able to make something work. Right, and now, right, you should see the SAGE modeling for the COVID pandemic.
This is so
Right,
fucking
it
stupid.
is so wrong. The theorists are disconnected from reality.
Mhm.
They are not right about reality.
Sitch,
Right, I'm not
I
saying-
had to update our moron, imbecile, idiot chart here. I added scientist below idiot just so we have it at our discretion at any time.
We
here.
should have science anti-scientist, anti-science. Really?
No. We have moron,
Uh-huh.
high grade imbecile, medium grade imbecile, low grade imbecile, idiot, and then scientist. Like right below.
The problem.
I'm just thinking like, oh, so the people that invented the satellites that circle our planet, they didn't use any science. It was just engineer. They were just iterating. It's all
Well,
just
no,
engineering.
I'm sure they did use some
problem.
science.
There's
right?
no
I'm not
science.
saying
No scientists work at NASA to develop satellites or the technologies used to get to space.
Again,
There's no
there are
science
engineers at NASA that develop these things.
You're right.
I'm not-
It's
I'm not
just
saying-
engineers. There's no scientists involved.
Sitch.
Come on.
I'm not saying there's no room for theory, right?
Mhm.
There is room for technical expertise, but at this point, technical expertise has become the only valid form of expertise that our society recognizes, and that's not correct. That's only half
What are
the
you
story.
basing this off of? What do you
Well,
mean?
what would you accept as evidence? Would you accept the decline of apprenticeships? Like the fact that everyone is now supposed to go to fucking university and sit there with their books and learn from theory and blah blah blah, rather than actually like working with a master and
No, but this,
practicing.
you're creating a framework that's
Apprenticeships
very much
are
like
scientific. What are you talking
No, they're
about?
not scientific.
Are
An
you saying
apprenticeship is not
electric?
scientific.
Like if someone takes an electrician apprenticeship, they're not engaging
They're
in
not a
something
scientist.
that's like
I agree.
a
They're
science.
not a scientist. They're an engineer.
But electricity is dealing with science, right? I mean,
No, your theory about electricity is a scientific theory, but the electrician isn't practicing science
see,
when
but
he's welding.
This is what you're
wires
doing, and I don't
Right.
think this is fair to the concept. You're creating this dichotomy where you're like, well, if the person all they do is they work with theory and they've never done anything physical, I'm going to label them a scientist. And anyone that's ever done anything physical or created something, I'm going to label them an engineer.
No, yeah, well, I agree. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what it sounds like. That's what you're
There are scientists who, of course, do things, right? And so they're not like, purely theoretical. Though some are, obviously, but they're not purely theoretical, and they've got practical knowledge of how to conduct experiments and how to do certain things. And of course, engineers spend X amount of time, studying theory as well. Blah blah blah. Right. So obviously, it's not just all of one and none of the other. But at this point, we've got the problem that the scientists are entering into the political realm, and they have no practical experience in the political realm. So all they can bring is theory, and the theory is bollocks.
So complain about that. Don't complain
I
about
just
the
did.
idea of science itself. That's where I don't. This is
Yeah, but the
crazy
idea of
talk.
science itself doesn't exist separately to the humans that practice it.
I understand that, but you can't just say, if someone comes up, this is the gun argument. Okay, someone invents a gun and you say, oh, I like this gun. I can use it to hunt stuff. I can use it to protect myself. Someone uses it to go kill an innocent person. You don't say throw the gun away. You say stop people from using it improperly.
Yeah, okay. And I'm not saying throw the ability to
You're saying
think
throw
away.
science away.
No, I'm not. I'm saying we need to stop. Like, we need to stop shooting
Yes.
people in the street, because that's what we're
Okay.
doing at the moment.
I'm on
speaking.
board with not shooting people in the street.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. And so that begins with us recognizing that science has gone too far, and progressive
Okay.
ideology is a facet of that. This is why you get like people like Jangles who are just.
This has nothing to do
scientismists.
with all
Jangles is anti-science. The
No,
problem with
he
Jangles is
worships
Jangles
science
is
like a fucking religion.
He
Yeah.
pretends he does.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why you
I
said
don't
it
think
exactly.
it's a pretense. I mean, you can see him like he gets so like itchy when you start talking about science in a way that he's not comfortable. He's like, I've got to study. It's like, yeah, I know you do. You've literally got loads of biblical texts. That are
Again, science is not even remotely responsible for this. Science is the framework that people want to accept ideas in currently. So they're just trying to force whatever they want through that framework of science.
And
Yes.
and when that framework becomes unsuitable to the task, what then?
But here's the great thing, is that if you actually look at the science, what they're saying doesn't follow the science. It's all
Yeah, it's
bullshit.
pseudoscience.
Right. So science can
That's
never
how we
be
know
wrong.
that
Science
it's
can
not
never be wrong, is what we're saying.
No, but that's why it shows you that the framework, the tool of science works, is because it shows that the things that they're saying are bullshit.
Okay, but can you not see how you've created a paradigm here where science is never wrong? Science is never not the answer.
It's one of the, I don't know there's no better answer so far for human beings in
Yeah.
terms of
But
trying
there
to
are
discover
loads.
these
Like, science is not
wide-scale
making people
problems.
happy.
Science isn't designed to make
Science
people happy.
is making
Well, then
people
it's
happy,
the wrong
though.
tool
I
for the job,
completely
isn't it? Because the
disagree.
question of the
You're
modern era is
correct.
happiness.
People should not be using quote unquote science to try to make people happy, because that's
Right, but
not
they
what it was
are.
used.
I
This is
think,
all
I
they're
think
doing.
I
science
shouldn't
is
use a
making people
hammer
happy.
to cut down a tree. I should use a fucking
totally.
saw. I'm not going to complain about the hammer and say this hammer sucks. I can't cut this tree down with it.
No, dude. Right. Okay, great. We're finally on the same page. I agree completely. Right. Science is good for solving problems, except for human problems. Right. That like
What do you mean?
The sort of emotional problems. That humans have.
Death is a human problem, and science is pretty good at solving that.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean,
People still die.
yeah, but people
we're working on it.
live a lot longer, and they
Trying to
don't.
prevent that.
Okay. No.
There are
imagine
a
if
lot
you
of
did.
things that people died of 100 years ago that they no longer die of.
That's true.
So I mean,
Sure, but people still die.
yeah,
right?
they do,
Like,
but sometimes science saves them. Modern medicine saves them. So I'm just
yeah,
saying,
but science
how can you not
prolongs
say
a person's life.
like
Yeah, I agree.
video games are a product of scientific research? You don't think that makes people happy?
Why?
Like,
What scientist invented video games?
well, who did invent video games?
An
then? If it wasn't-
engineer.
Okay, so engineers.
Someone who was trial and erroring it. He
So-
didn't sit there
Yeah,
with a
but
theory
the
and
trial. Science
that's not
is
true.
trial and
Wait,
error.
all science
What,
is
what
not
do you
true.
think?
Science
Why do you
is
think they call it?
extracted
Why do you
from
think
trial and error.
Sargon? Why do you think they call it drug trials? Why do you think they call it that? What is that's such a strange thing to call testing a drug out, a drug trial, a double-blind trial. What do you think they're doing? It's trial and error. It's the same thing you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
That's what science is.
So?
Science is trial and error.
Yeah, but what you're implying that theory comes first.
Falsification. Falsification is actually setting up an experiment to look for the error.
Sure, but like the theory doesn't come first, right?
Yes,
It's
it does.
experience in the world. No, of course not. It's experience in the world that comes first, and then theory is derived from that.
No, you understand? Engineers use science, right? Like an engineer goes
Yeah,
to
sure.
engineering school, and they learn about all this stuff. You have to learn
Yeah.
the underlying science, and that's how they know what to do to iterate on things in the directions they're iterating.
that's
They're not
not-
just
that's-
throwing darks in the dart here.
They
It's hard-
often are, though. right? And this is the thing.
Sometimes
Like,
they are. Sure.
No,
sometimes
you
they are.
are assuming the only legitimate method of knowledge gathering is technical knowledge,
No, I'm not.
right?
No,
the Romans
not
didn't do
I'm not
this,
You're
that.
assuming.
right?
No,
The
listen.
Romans didn't do this, and we're
I'm
still
saying
using
that
their
at all.
aqueducts. We're
Let me-
still
let
using
me-
their bridges.
Let me have a second here because I like this was a chief conflict between academic agent and his audience and me, because I said, what academic agent was bringing up was from some tired old book, and they were like books can't have knowledge. I think you can look for knowledge anywhere. Knowledge can be delivered in revelation, knowledge can be delivered in history, knowledge can be delivered in a lot of different areas. But science is the way that you verify that knowledge for truth value against the natural world. So my contention with people pulling stuff out of old books and acting like it's been verified when it often hasn't been verified is that we do need to do this verification process, or we don't know if that information is actually true in a factual materialist sense.
But what you've just said there is science is not a source of knowledge.
Science is a source of verification of knowledge.
Right, I agree.
Yes.
Yep, sure. But it's not a source of knowledge.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. But the point, Sitch, that I was trying to get to, right, is that science can't make us happy. Science can't teach us what it is to
Someone in
live
the
a
chat
good life.
pointed out that these divisions are in schools are called applied sciences for a reason. Okay.
Yeah. Engineering is an applied science, I believe.
This is such a weird framing. I don't understand why you're framing things this
Well,
way.
the reason I'm framing it this way is because it allows us to get to the heart of the issue. We're trying to use the wrong tool to solve the problem that has been created by the tool we're using.
See, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear what is the right tool.
Okay, but I just want to be super precise here. Okay, because you can say that in terms of discovering humans' happiness, science isn't the right tool, and we can have an argument about that. But I just want to be clear: you can have that without throwing out the idea that like science is an important tool for human beings to understand the reality of the world they live in. Right?
Sure.
Okay. So I made that clear. Okay. So if science can't make us happy, what's making us happy? How do we determine
That's the
that?
question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying I've got all of the answers here, and I'm going to sit there and reel off, well, this is what mankind needs to do. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is we're very much like committed to the thing that is making us unhappy without realizing or being even aware that that's the thing that's making us unhappy. And we really have to start thinking about that in these terms.
I don't
Okay, for
understand how we
example-
could find out what would make humans happy except by using something approximating a scientific method.
Well, I mean, we would call it philosophy in any other era.
But how would you determine which philosophy makes people the most happy? Would you not have to conduct some
Well,
kind
there
of
are lots of
scientific
ways.
study to make this determination?
Not really. I
Of
imagine
course
it'd
you
be
would.
different. I imagine it'd be different for each person. Again, like
Okay.
this obsession with science. Like science can only tell you what is, right?
Yeah,
It can only tell you what. Yeah, okay. So don't worry about it. It's not germane to the conversation in any way, shape, or form. When we talk about
Finding
what it
out
is for a
what
human
makes you
being to live a
happy
good
is
life.
not germane to the conversation.
Sorry.
How is you're talking about? We have to figure out a way to make people happy or whatever, right?
No, you can't make someone happy. Happiness is something an individual achieves, right? And so, what is it that is useful for people? And a lot of the time, I don't even know if we can rationalistically plan this out. Like, and the thing is as well, I don't even think you can have a plan to have no plan. Like, we appear to have. Sorry, I need to go get another cup of tea, but like I'm just too deep in this. We appear to have dug ourselves into a place that we've never achieved before, and we don't know how to escape. That's the problem. And sitting there going, "Oh, science, science, science." Well, science got us here. The more science is just digging downwards. We need to actually think about what it is to be a human being, and like. That's not going to happen. You know, the entire world's about to be plugged into the fucking metaverse or something like that.
We literally couldn't know what it was like to be a human being without understanding science and evolution.
We do. Of course we know what it's like to be a human being. There's like all of pre-enlightenment philosophy is about the discussion of what it is to be a good and a wholesome human being.
Oh, well,
Like, there's so
you're
much of
you're
it.
talking about
There's
okay,
so much of it.
You're talking about something completely different. You're talking about how should someone be, not how someone
Yes.
is. Okay,
Yes.
well, that's a different.
Yes. God, I said that at the beginning.
Well, no, because
What-
we were talking about happiness. Okay, now we've moved on to
Yes.
some sort of like, how someone prescriptively should be a moral, upright
But
person.
no, happiness is the product of living how a person should live.
So you don't think that there are people that live evil lives that are happy, that they're
I don't
happy
think
with their
people are
evilness?
happy, no. No, I can't think of
No?
a single person who I would consider evil who I would also consider happy.
I'm sure a lot of those Colombian drug lords are pretty happy,
I'd say
snorting
they're
their
afraid.
mountain of cocaine and banging wherever they want.
I'd say they live in a state of perpetual fear.
Well, they're afraid that someone's going to come and steal their shit.
So
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
I don't think that's happiness. Do you think that's happiness?
It can't. Wait, of course it. What do you mean? It sounds like
I think
you're
it's
talking about
happiness
not.
to live in a state of perpetual fear.
It sounds like you're not describing happiness, because happiness is fleeting. Okay,
Is it?
you're
You
talking
think-
about like.
Hang on. Well, there we go. Right. Okay, that's a huge statement, but I totally don't agree with. I think happiness
No, you
is
do. We're just
No, I
using different words here.
well. Then use the right word.
Because you're looking for people to have like peace, not happiness.
No.
Okay. No one is happy
Happiness-
100% of the time. That's impossible, right?
I don't agree that happiness is like you're trying to put a number on it, right? I don't agree that there's something you can put a number on.
No,
It's
happy.
a general state of being, like how you view your own life, and like for example, the ancient Greeks didn't think you could call a man happy until he was dead, because you
Right.
don't know. You've got to take into account their entire life to know whether they had a
Sargon, are
happy
you
life or
happy?
not.
I feel like
Well,
maybe I should
I don't know.
ask.
I might be being set up for a terrible tragedy.
What do you?
So I consider myself to be happy. I'm very happy with the way my life is, but I might tomorrow be part of a terrible tragedy, and then I'll be very unhappy for a very long time. So, I don't want to.
Because
Yes.
I would not use the word. I think you're describing like contentment. I would use this instead of the word happiness.
This is just happiness is just the word that's always been used for this. So
But I think that's kind of the problem, because to me, happiness is a fleeting emotion, and chasing after it leads you down
Well, no,
the path to like utopian thinking.
Yeah, you gotta
that,
suffer.
that's like pleasure or elation, right?
No,
So pleasure's fleeting.
I mean, look, you see
Happiness is a
your
prolonged state of
child
being.
take their first steps, right? You're gonna have a
Yeah.
supreme moment of happiness. That's a fleeting.
No, that's elation. That's pleasure.
I don't, see, I
Happiness
don't
is
know.
generally, at least historically,
Okay,
and
well, we're just-
philosophically, used to talk about a state of being that is not merely like a fleeting,
Okay.
state of affairs. Like Aristotle used the word eudaimonia, right? Human flourishing. So
There we go.
that's
I
fine.
like that
You can
word.
use that. Yeah, it's a nice term
Yeah.
actually.
Let's not get
um,
bogged down in Sitch's
Yeah,
law.
semantics. Yeah. But the point is, like, we've totally lost this. We've totally lost this ability now, right? People don't know how to be happy and just continually seek pleasure and like
Mhm.
dopamine hits, as if that's happiness. Continual dopamine hit,
Well-
which it's obviously not.
Yeah, but I know I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But
But science can't fix this.
well, no, because I would argue that there's all the people studying this saying, oh, social media is making people unhappy. Oh, the constant. I mean, that's how you know about the dopamine hits, is because science says, oh, all this stuff, all these dopamine hits are making us unhealthy. Blah blah blah. Like science is warning us about all of the problems you're talking about.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it can't tell us what we should do.
What's a
That's not
better
true.
way to do it,
Only
Sargon?
philosophy can do that, right? Only the way we look at the world can do that. And like,
Well, it tells
for-
you, yeah, it says not
Okay.
to do X, right?
But this is what I mean about being trapped within the Enlightenment paradigm, because you're like, right, okay, how can science alleviate the problem science has created? It's like, why would we not use something other than science?
just-
to
I
alleviate
don't-
the
Science
problem?
hasn't created
Yeah,
the problem.
I disagree
People
with that.
have created the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but people are not unconnected to science. Science is done by people.
What
Right,
what
science
problem
as a
has science
tool-
created?
Honestly, massive abundance to the point where we are now, like, we're
That's
at the
bad?
point. Yeah, totally.
That's
Like,
bad. Why?
Well, do you not know about the mass utopia?
Because
I
Wall-E
do know
added
about the mouse
Right, well, there we go.
utopia, but I mean they're mice. They don't know how to take advantage
because
of the
we're
utopia.
animals. We're animals. We're not designed. We didn't evolve to have unlimited resources. We evolved in scarcity, and this is a problem.
But there's
This is
an
a real
evolutionary
problem.
process they didn't let take place in the mouse utopia. They needed to go a couple generations and get the
Well, the
mice
thing
that were just
collapsed and the
fine
mice
with it.
died. I don't think there would have
Yeah.
been a couple of generations. And think of the suffering you're endorsing there.
I thought life
the
is
mothers
suffering.
would be
though.
eating the babies. and
Wait,
stuff
you're
like
on the
this.
side of suffering. You were on the side
Not
of
unnecessary and unjust suffering.
Well, I think science
Good
is
God.
designed to eliminate unnecessary and unjust suffering.
Well, there's a question and a debate to be had there, isn't there?
Yeah. We're having that debate. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
I
But,
can't believe you're on the side of anti-science. Though.
Side of anti-science.
It's
I
so
know.
weird.
it's because you are like scientismists that you think I'm talking in an anti-science way.
No, it's because if you came on and said, I believe that people need strong philosophies to get through life or to be better
that's
people.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't disagree. There's literally no disagreement.
Okay, then stop talking about science, because science isn't philosophy.
You're the one that brought it up.
Yeah, but
Sargon?
you keep bringing everything back to science. Like you keep saying, okay,
we
well,
can't get
science
over
can
this
fix
idea that it appears that you have this horrible. You're projecting a disdain onto science that neither me nor Adam see
I'm
as
totally
deserving.
disdainful of science when it comes to how a human should live. Absolutely, and you should be too. And the fact that you're not is the problem, frankly. Like, how is it that you can look at like what science has done to human beings and be like, well, maybe a little bit more science?
But this
can
is
fix
why.
this.
But this is why I say you're like, I don't hate science, but you keep framing this like, look at what science has wrought. Look at what science has done to human beings. Science has done shit to human beings. Human beings do a bunch of shit to themselves. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Using science, like as we
So
said,
what?
What do you mean? So what? We need to
What if
change
you- wait,
tools.
wait,
we need to
wait,
change tools. The tool
like-
is not appropriate. We're smashing our own house down now.
When the Egyptians were enslaving Jews or whoever it was to build fucking pyramids or whatever the fuck they
That's
were
not
doing.
what happened, but yeah.
Okay, whatever. When the ancient kingdoms were at war, pillaging and raping each other, they were committing the fucking unknown travesties that were spreading throughout human history. And it's like, oh, but they weren't doing it in the name of science. They're doing it in the name of whatever their dumb philosophy at the time was too.
Okay, I didn't say science is the only. Like, I'm not even saying science is like a bad thing.
No, but that's my point. It's just that this is what
You
people
did say
do.
science was a bad thing. What are you talking
you did,
about?
actually.
Well,
You said science led us to the precipice, and we're all about to like fall into the ocean or something.
Yeah, but I could be saying that about a car, but I'm not saying cars are a bad thing. We've driven to the edge of a cliff. Well, okay, we need to start driving backwards now. God, you hate cars. God, you've been shitting on cars this whole time. It's like, well, maybe we could stop driving forward. Like, that's what I'm saying.
It's like you're saying, well,
And you're like,
cars
no, I've got
can
an
drive us off a
accelerator.
cliff,
I'm just
so
going to
no
press
more
the
cars.
accelerator. We're going forward. It's like, look, we really don't need to go forward anymore.
I
What we need to
don't-
do is turn the steering wheel.
I do not
Like,
feel
that's
like
what I'm
that's what you're
saying.
saying. Because you keep coming back to
I
look
know.
at what science has wrought us, which is just such a weird framing of how to look at the
Because you're
situation.
just pressing forward on the accelerator. Like, I'm like,
People-
look, no, we need to stop pressing forward on the accelerator because we're going to go over this cliff. You're like, yeah,
Nothing
but
that
the
we're
accelerator will save us.
experiencing has fuck all to do with science or the
Yeah.
scientific
It
method.
absolutely is
It's
the
literally
consequence
people-
of science.
No, because it's literally people not listening to science or the scientific method. Science is saying, oh,
You just
all
need
this
to
shit
press the
you're doing-
accelerator.
Science is saying, look at all this shit. All the people studying Twitter and social media saying, oh, this is all making children super unhappy. Oh, we know why it's making children super unhappy. Here's exactly why it is. And do people look at that and they say, oh, I'm going to trust the science and I'm going to change my behavior? No, they say, oh, that's interesting, but this feels good, so I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep listening to my body. I'm going to keep doing that.
And what can science do about that?
Nothing, because that's not
Then stop
science's
talking
goal.
about science.
Well, actually, technically, science will gene edit everyone in the future and we'll solve all this.
There we go.
problems anyway,
Right,
so
there
it
we go.
doesn't
We're going to
matter.
use science to just
Yes.
modify humans.
Yeah,
now,
why not?
Right? Because we end up at a place where we think we knew more than we did.
You've been
And
hanging
we
out with
end up-
academic agent too much.
No, we end up
Sargon.
where we
I
are
think-
now by saying essentially that the problem is not the mind, the problem is the body. And the problem is actually not the body. The human animal actually is not really the problem. You're not a will trapped in a body.
The
that's
problem
defective.
to what?
The problem to the freedom of the will.
No, well, I mean, technically, if that's your problem, then it is obviously. But
No,
I
but
don't.
that's the problem you're raising.
No, but that's what I'm asking. What is the problem that you're
The
talking
problem is the
about?
way we view being human. Through the lens of science, being human is the problem. You've just sat here and gone, I need to change the human will, gene edit ourselves. It's like, no.
Science
because
doesn't tell. No, again.
You just said it.
Being
No.
human does present certain limitations that we would like to overcome.
Yes.
Wait, no,
No.
wait. Pause for a second.
Why not?
Science,
Because
science
because
is not
you're-
telling us that the human is a problem. People are saying, I have this problem
Adam's
with
just
being.
said it.
people are saying, I have a problem with like dying, or I have a problem with being low IQ, or I have a problem with being addicted to social media.
Learn
And then
to
they could
deal
say,
with
well, I
those
can
things.
use this tool of science to maybe to fix that, to alleviate that issue.
Right. Again,
Science isn't telling us what the problem is.
The problem is not the human being. The problem is the way that we're looking at the world. And we're looking at the world as if we are the engineers of all reality.
Don't you think it's easier to change the human being though than to change the entire world?
You just argued. Wait, you just argued.
Well, that's what I'm arguing. Yeah.
You just argued
change
that
the way
these
we
things
think
are
about things. It's
inseparable.
way easier than changing the human being.
You just argued that the consciousness and the body are inseparable, and now you're arguing the opposite.
No, I mean, they are inseparable, right?
Yeah, but so then that means it's a natural biological body process for people to have the perceptions that you're talking about.
Sure. No, it's about the way we think about the world. That is why we've arrived at the point we're at here now, right? And so we
Sargon,
need to
you're
stop
not going to get the Neuralink. I'm pretty disappointed to hear that.
I'm not going to get the gene therapy in order to make myself less depressed about social media either.
What if you could make yourself 10 years younger?
Oh, 10 years younger. Yeah.
No, why would I want that?
Really?
Really? I'd be
why would you want to be
Sitch and I are going to be getting younger and younger and younger. We're going to be like, Sargon looks like a fucking boomer. Holy shit.
Yeah, but do you think that won't come with a sacrifice?
I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
My sacrifice?
Of course it will. Name something.
It'll come with a lot of sacrifices, a lot of sleepless nights from all the sex I'm going to be having.
Yeah, but
like,
do you think that, okay, but
of course I'm going to be sacrificing.
Have a downside?
Yeah, I'll be fucking tired at work the next day, just like I was in my 20s.
Okay, name some kind of body modification in some way that doesn't have a major downside.
A major
I can't even think of body modification off the top of my head anyway.
Well, look at plastic surgery. Does that work out well?
The whole idea is to
some people. I think that was 100% successful.
The whole idea is to do it without the downside.
It looks fucking terrible.
So that's different.
What this is ego and arrogance and hubris.
If say like, I don't know, say when you're like 70 or 80, you start going blind, you have immaculate
degeneration.
Yeah.
Macular? Like, oh, you mean macular
whatever. I always say it wrong. Immacular, thank you. Immaculate spontaneous degeneration. Yes. And they're like, listen, Carl, we can inject you with this gene editing thing, and it'll make you be able to see again, and we don't have any long-term side effects or short-term side effects. Yeah.
Well, there will be some sort of side effects.
There's always like 0.1% or whatever. This is a hypothetical.
Because the world is really fucking
well, let's say
Sargon is feeling like a glass.
We'll do a thought experiment. Okay. No, we don't like science here, but let's do a thought experiment. So there's no side effects.
Thought experiments not science, for fuck's sake.
There's no side effects. They say this will cure your blindness. They say this will cure your blindness. Are you going to take it or are you not going to take it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like what is it? You know, if it's like a mechanical thing they're going to put in my eye, they'll realign the retina.
No. That's going to gene edit you. It's going to gene edit you.
I mean, I don't know. Like, who knows, right? I mean, like, I don't know. What if one of the side effects is like a 15% chance of a fucking heart attack?
I'm just saying hypothetically, there's no side effects.
15% chance. I'd still do it. I'd totally.
Or maybe for you, it would be better to say not gene editing. They're going to scoop out your eyeballs and give you robot eyes, and you'll notice no difference, and there'll be no bad side effects.
Plus laser vision.
If I was literally going to go blind, then I may as well have.
But that's transhumanism, isn't it?
Plus laser vision.
I don't know. I view transhumanism as uploading your consciousness to something.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen for many fucking years.
I don't think
that's your concern. I mean.
Well, I'm not concerned about it.
We're getting close. The Neuralink's already working out.
We're not
testing it out.
We're nowhere near that.
I mean, it's not going to happen. So
yeah,
you guys are.
I don't know why you're worried about something that's not going to happen for like 2,000 years.
Bunch of Debbie Downers here. I can't believe it.
But like a mechanical, like a pegged leg, that's fine, right? These things are fine. Because it's not changing the fundamental essence of what it is to be a human.
Oh my God.
Right? But you are getting to the point where you're like, right, we're going to start gene editing. That is changing the fundamental essence of what it is to be a human. And instead of that, we should be looking at this
aesthetic, though. Not by other people's aesthetic. I mean,
well, that's the point, isn't it?
Why would you force your aesthetic on other people, though? That's totally authoritarian.
Because what you're doing is making everyone unhappy. You're creating a dystopian future.
I could see like 2 million years ago. You got me, Adam, and Sargon. We're all monkeys, and people were like evolving into humans, and Sargon's like, we need to stop changing the fundamental essence of being a monkey. Damn it! This human stuff is going to lead us down to all being very sad primates. And then it fast forward today, and Sargon's like, I was right. We're all unhappy. We should go back to monkeys.
Sitch, this is the immortality chair in the middle of the room, and Sargon trying not to get us not to sit in it. He's like, don't sit in the chair. Don't sit. It says immortality on it, Sargon. I'm sitting in it.
But the point is, it's not an immortality chair.
I know.
Just because it's labeled that way doesn't mean you're getting immortality.
We heard
And in fact, what everyone's getting is fucking miserable, a massive suicide.
Sargon has changed the sign on the immortality chair to
you think people are more unhappy now than they were like in the 1300s or something?
We know they are.
We do?
We know?
Yes.
Oh my
we
God.
absolutely do. We know that people are way more miserable than they were 50 years ago.
Oh my God.
People used to have purpose, and you can look at this in the Islamic world, who are basically still in the 1300s. They're all really happy.
Oh my God, they're happy.
You know
Not a lot.
No, they absolutely are. They absolutely are happy. Look at their
all those women who can't
quality of
drive,
life.
they're just swimming in happiness.
Yeah, but this is your standards. That's the thing, and they don't share your standards.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And so
none of those women want to drive, Sargon. I know.
The point is that your standards aren't the only or best standards.
Yeah, neither are your standards.
Neither are yours. That's what I'm saying, Sargon. I'm saying, why are you forcing your standards on everyone else? I'm not the one doing that.
I actually disagree. I think these standards, the standards that are let's focus more on human happiness rather than progress, are actually better standards for human beings.
Happiness is progress. What are you talking about?
I disagree with that. Yeah,
gotcha. Fucking gotcha.
Oh no!
You know
was
that's
this whole time. Was this what he was trying to get us to say the whole time?
Adam, that's totally untrue, and you just walked blindly into.
I think what you could say is human
happiness
progress
is not progress.
You could say progress
can
lead to happiness, which Sargon would
that was the assumption, but it's turned out to not be true.
There's no evidence of that. Oh, I'm sorry. I said evidence. I'm sorry. We're throwing science out.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Oh yeah. Science has got a monopoly on that.
You can't use the word evidence anymore.
They didn't have like evidence in court cases or anything in the 1300s.
No, they didn't.
Science
they didn't have science.
No. Evidence. This is weird. This obsession with science, man.
He almost said weird science. Did you catch it?
I did. That's a good movie.
But the point though, and
speaking of weird science, I can think of a couple things that science would be good for.
Also, we've got real civilizational problems that no one wants to talk about. Like we're literally heading into a demographic winter.
No!
We're
genuinely
demographic winter.
Please stop, Sargon.
Oh, totally.
I don't even know what that means.
Well,
is the birth rate too low?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, do you think they're not?
You know how we can fix? You know how we can fix that low birth rate?
Is this return
immortality, Sargon? Immortality.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but have you achieved immortality?
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Well, how long do you think it's going to take? Because in about 30 years' time, all of these social liberal stuff you like,
I think 4 or 5 years,
is going to collapse because no one's going to be around to do it.
4 or 5 years, I think, will be
4 or 5 years.
No, I think like 50 years, 100 years. I think we're closer than you think.
You can tell who the pessimist is
50 years' time.
4 years, I said, Sargon. He said 50 years.
When I say immortality,
it's ridiculous.
No, it's actually not. When I say immortality, I just mean that they stop or reverse the aging process.
Yeah.
Which they're actually closer than you think, surprisingly.
We have already shown that you can reverse the aging process by sharing your circulatory system with a 20-year-old. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to lug them.
Injecting the blood of children is what's going to get you immortal.
Well, no, you have to keep them with you. You go Siamese twins for a couple of
weeks. Yeah, you got
to
tie them up to your back, yeah.
Doesn't this require young people to be born?
Sargon, you said that you thought suffering was important, okay? Me being a Siamese twin for 2 months so I can look younger.
But where are you going to get the young people?
I'm going to hire them.
We're going to import them from South America. What are you talking about?
They don't exist anymore. Where are you going to get the young people?
Well, that's somebody else's problem. That's generations away.
No, that's your problem.
No, it's not. That's way down. I mean, you're right. Once I'm immortal, that will be my problem.
Everything I'm saying is a real problem that you're not going to solve with science. Right?
It has nothing to do with science. I don't know why I keep saying this.
It's everything to do with science. Science.
No one is saying, like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is literally nothing to do with science. That's why I don't understand why.
Look at all these great answers people have in the chat. Farm them, grow them.
There you go.
Philippines, Thailand.
There we go. No.
Haven't you seen The Matrix, Sargon?
In the Brave New World future, only worse because now you're going to decant babies in order to take their blood.
Haven't you seen The Matrix?
Science isn't ethics. I think we can all at least agree.
Yeah,
on
no one disagrees with that.
Should
Right.
people be
'Cause I
allowed
think
to
that ethically
volunteer
that
their
sounds
circulatory system to Siamese
Well,
twin up with me for a couple months, Sargon, or is that
is
that too much
so
for
are we
you?
abandoning human rights or what? I mean, where are we going with this?
You're
They're- Yeah, they're being paid. This
If
is
we-
a job. Come on.
Well, is it?
Yes.
But what if they all say, I actually don't want you to take my blood?
Well, I'm giving it back on a regular interval. I mean, we're
Well, then
sharing
listen,
a circulatory system.
we'll just genetically engineer, babies with no brains that are just horrible
Oh my God.
monstrosities.
Sid,
Like,
that's a
It'll
bit
be like
too
Death
far.
Stranding. We'll all walk
No,
around with a
no,
little
no,
baby in
that's
front of
exactly
ourselves, a little
where this
fetus in the
goes,
tube, and we'll
because-
just suck its life force out.
All Sitch has to answer the
That's a
problems is
great science fiction story. I love that, actually.
That's the only place this can go.
How about
That's all
this?
science can do is monstrous things in order to
No,
solve
But you
I
understand-
figured out the answer.
no,
It's
no, wait,
perfect.
but you don't. I don't know if you understand the argument that you're really making. Is just that humans can't be trusted with the power of science.
I mean, you've literally just suggested creating lobotomized babies in order to live forever.
That
Yeah, as a
was
joke,
Sitch.
as a
I did
joke,
not.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but do
I
you
do
think
not
that
condone
you're-
that.
No, but so you have
Yeah,
this.
but do you think that someone won't
innately-
do that?
So it'd be a good
Academic
story.
agent would probably do that.
I
but
don't
we
think
would
he
never.
absolutely
We would
I do
think
not
of
think-
doing it.
The academic agent would burn down every lab.
He wouldn't.
before
Yeah,
it
he would
came
be
to
against
that.
that. I don't think in our
You're the
environment
scientist.
that would be allowed to happen under our cultural standpoints. Yeah.
Why?
Sitch, I figured
when
out.
things
I mean,
become
people are
desperate
so-
enough,
so, like,
they certainly will.
People are like tooth and nail about abortion. You don't think they're going to be even crazier about people carrying fetuses that they steal their life force from?
when,
Sitch,
when there are literally like 5% young people in civilization, do you not think that
Sargon,
it'll look
Sitch,
different?
Sargon Sitch. I figured out
Yes.
the answer here. Okay,
What's
we
the
set it up like a timeshare. Okay, we
Okay.
start off with a few originally young people, but then after
Uh-huh.
you do your 2-month stint, you have to go and do it for another old person. So like once I knock about 20
Why
years
would I
off,
have to? Based
then
on what?
Because it's
Based on what? The old
Look,
person's desire to live forever. No, get fucked. You're not having my blood.
this is well, you don't have to be in the program. I'm just saying.
You're not
like,
having my
then-
children's
Then
blood.
the program is
You're
you
not
know,
having any children's blood.
Well, we have to start
You
off with some young.
monsters.
We have to start
Listen,
off with some young
listen.
people.
We're not
But
gonna
we'll
need
pay them
blood 'cause they're just-
handsomely.
They're not going to need blood. They're just going to revert. They're going to get rid of the telomeres.
We're
on your
not
DNA,
taking
and they're
their
gonna reverse
blood.
age.
Sargon, we're
Okay.
not
You
taking
just
their
said
blood.
we're going to live forever by taking.
It
young
was a
people's blood.
joke. You're going way too deep.
No,
into this
you
fucking
said you
joke.
said that you've proven that they can do this.
No one is taking anybody's blood. I wish you would quit referring to it that way.
Right. Okay. So we need to get over the fact
You
that we're not gonna
link
live
the
forever.
circulatory system
no.
of two people. Okay, you're sharing blood. It's completely different.
The point is, this is the only place you've got to go from your argument, though, right?
What do you mean?
No, it's. What do you mean?
Well, where else can you go?
We're not going it.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly,
Who's,
you're not
who's
going
anywhere.
Yeah,
But
you're the one
people
that's
are-
trying to
but
go
people are
somewhere.
going-
and we're just like
our
we're just
civilization is
chilling
going
out,
downwards.
drinking
Like,
mimosas.
Do you think our civilization is getting better or worse?
I
I'm
think it's
drinking
getting way better. Are
mimosas,
you
getting
crazy?
getting
Really?
a year younger
Yeah.
at a time here.
How is it getting better?
Because I think, okay, do I want to go? Do I, as a human, as a personal individual, do I wish I grew up, in the 1800s where I had to go farm all day and shit in a cold outhouse and like step on a nail and then die of tetanus? Or am I happy that I live in the year 2021 where I can sit in front of my computer box of the world and have conversations like this, and thousands of
know.
people who are not near me can all listen to it?
It's so much fun.
What makes
Sargon.
you think you're happier than them?
Well, I can't, obviously, no one can know the answer to that question.
Well, they. all
Well, I
seem
can
to-
because
like,
I
they-
lived before this shit, and it sucked. It
No, but I mean, I
fucking
can't
sucked.
translate
No,
my
it didn't.
consciousness to the
The world
1800s.
before the internet was fucking brilliant.
No, it wasn't. It was lame.
Yes, it was.
It was so
this is all
boring.
this is all member berries.
Oh my
this is all
god!
nostalgia.
Everyone was happier before the internet, man.
It was so
my
fucking
God.
boring. What are you talking about?
No, it
Oh,
wasn't
make it
boring.
stop. It was boring.
It
as
was
fuck.
not boring.
Oh my god, my
World before the
childhood
internet
was painful.
fantastic. Oh no, it wasn't, Adam.
It
Come
was
on.
so painful. Are you kidding me? It's
Oh
way
my
better
god!
now.
Look at that first world problem.
Just listen to your elders, Sargon. Okay, listen to your elders.
I'm older than you.
I don't think you are, but
I don't
Well,
like I don't
everyone-
like this
everyone wants us
search
to-
for happiness.
everyone wants
okay?
us to move on. Well, I don't know if everyone wants us to move on. I think a couple people really want us to move on, but I thought this.
okay.
I think this is fascinating, and
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, Sargon, just tell us you're trolling us here. This can't be real.
No,
I know,
absolutely
right?
not. absolutely not. Again, like you guys are doubling down on the thing that's making everyone miserable and making our civilization fall apart.
Well, that's like citation needed. I think civilization's doing just fine, but
yeah, but it's not.
Okay.
Like, okay, what standards would you require? And I'll go get you the stuff now. Like, what would I want to know in advance? What will satisfy you, and then I'll go and get it.
That
I want to see. Yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I want to see.
In what way? Well, like, what would count as bad to you?
No. It's not about what is. This is the problem. It's not about what is bad. It's that
Like,
you have
don't
to
think that we're a
compare.
civilization in decline.
You'd have to compare people's happiness versus their sadness to like a an agricultural, agrarian.
Well, yeah. Okay.
society.
Go back 100 years. Like, self-reported happiness is way higher than it is now.
So wait, if people want to do that, they can go do that. Nothing's stopping.
No, but they can't though, can they? Like,
They don't want to.
agriculture has been mechanized. So now very few
What do you mean?
people
Anyone
need
can go
it.
live in the woods?
No,
And what do you
it's-
mean?
no,
A
they
self-sustained farm? Of course they could.
How far
No,
back
not
do
really.
these surveys go? At self-reported happiness, Sargon. I mean,
At
that
least to
sounds-
the 50s.
That
At
seems
least to the
pretty
50s.
tenuous to me.
Oh, here we go. See, now just changing the terms. This is why I said, give me the terms. So when I present you the stuff, you have to change your mind.
I don't even want it
Right?
because to me this is the.
No,
the
because-
Did they
framing
let
of the
women fill out these
conversation-
surveys, or were they only
No,
allowed?
the
Yeah,
framing,
we've got
Or
women
only
since
allowed
the
to fill.
70s.
the framing of
women
the
since the
conversation
70s.
is
Yeah.
I disagree with from the get-go.
Did you catch
about how
that,
you're-
Sitch? The
No.
women in the 50s didn't even get to fill out the happiness survey.
Well, I mean, maybe there are. I'll have to go and look. But
By
like,
the men were
I know
happier,
that
to
they
be
exist
How do you
in the
like that?
70s
How do you
onwards.
like that, Sitch?
There you go.
The
But don't-
surveys were only
but
filled
don't
out
you
by.
think that's a concern? Don't you think
Yeah.
it's a concern that modern human rights
If-
has made women miserable?
Well, let me ask you a question because you're basing this on happiness, which I think is somewhat of a strange metric. Because,
Really?
well, yeah, because we could easily construct a hypothetical society where 80% of the population is happy,
Right.
and they enslave the other 20% of the population to do all the
Right.
things that would make them unhappy.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm talking about a real society that we actually live in where happiness is on the decline. I'm talking about the real society we actually live in that's facing a demographic
No,
crisis.
I'm saying, yeah, because what
Like,
I'm saying is
you
that,
can make up hypotheticals if you want, but I'm talking about reality.
no, what
But this is measurable,
that has
scientifically
nothing
measurable.
to do
Now
with what
you're
I said
using
at
science, Sargon. You can't
Yeah, I
do
know.
that.
It's all
Come
you seem
on.
to recognize.
Come on,
That has nothing to do with
Sargon.
what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't think it's necessarily a good idea for people to say, "Oh, my end goal is to chase happiness," because to me, that's what leads you down just being strewn out on drugs all the time. Oh, I'm happy
Well, that's
as long as I'm
pleasure
happy while I'm high, right? That's all that
I
matters.
don't agree that that's happiness, though.
Yeah, but I don't know how
Your
you're defining the
interpretation,
term
though.
happiness. Then that's my
Yeah.
problem.
Human
You keep saying
flourishing.
happiness.
You can't make happiness your standard and then force everyone into it, because by definition, happiness is subjective. They're not going to be happy
tell
under
me-
your
tell
standard.
me who's
I'm
not
not going to be
pursuing
happy under your
happiness.
standard.
Tell me who's not pursuing happiness, and I'll persuade them that they should.
Pursuing happiness?
who's
I'm
Yeah.
under the assumption everyone is pursuing happiness.
Well, there we go. So happiness is a perfectly
I
valid
disagree.
standard.
Lots of
But
people are
in
not
different ways, Sargon. In different ways.
No,
I'm
no,
not saying
I
that
know.
there's only one way to
I
pursue happiness.
1000% completely disagree with you. There's tons of people out there not pursuing happiness. Okay,
Well, who?
when people are
Name one.
slaving away to provide for their family in some shitty, job somewhere,
That's
they're
not
not their
pursuing
pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness leads you to being addicted to drugs and video games and fucking
No,
and
that's the
masturbating all
pursuit
day.
of pleasure.
Sitch's law. That's just Sitch's law.
That's
Well, that's
the
why I'm
pursuit
saying
of
I don't know
pleasure.
what you mean when you say happiness.
Happiness is a life that that you're proud of, that you like to live, that you want to continue in on for as long as possible. So that you feel
Oh, as
that you
long
have
as possible.
deep-
Gotcha, Sargon.
deep meaning, not forever. Deep meaning that you
Oh,
have.
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what you're
Gotcha.
saying is
Not
there's a
just taking
meaning
drugs.
crisis.
Otherwise, you'd have to plug yourself into Nozick's pleasure.
Okay,
machine.
but wait a minute. You're not talking about a happiness crisis. You're talking about a meaningness crisis. People have lost
but
meaning in their lives.
happiness is the term for a person who is flourishing and pleased with their life. Right?
They need a drug that
And it always
sobers
has,
you up.
it has
That's
been for
the
thousands
problem.
of years.
Okay.
We just use the word
So
happiness.
you
to
think
summarize
people are not finding meaning in their life, which I agree with. I don't. Now,
it.
I think this
That
has
means
less
they're
to
not
do.
happy, doesn't it?
Yes, but I think this has less to do
so,
with.
okay, so happiness
This doesn't really have anything
is
to do
low,
with science,
right?
though. This has to do with deconstructing all of our narratives away.
It is absolutely to do with the sovereignty of reason, which is exemplified in science.
You're
No, it's just
anti-reason
decon-
now? Are you an emotivist now, Sargon?
I don't know what. An
What is your
inventivist
what is your philosophy? What is your?
I'm saying that we need to realign our priorities.
No, but what philosophy do you subscribe to? I mean, I would have to invite
don't
Doomer
know.
on because Doomer knows the definition of my philosophy, and I don't know it. So it's some non-fictionalist.
I don't think I subscribe to any ideology.
Doomer, what is my philosophy, real quick? Can you tell me in the chat? Just so I know. Doomer has it down. Yeah, I don't.
It was an anti-real fictionalist or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but these are all just aesthetics. Really,
I mean,
right?
you're an
Like,
empiricist,
Those are bad
right?
philosophies. Then.
well,
It sounds like
I mean,
maybe you're not an empiricist. I mean, I guess you
No.
are because you're for experimentation.
I don't think we should be committing to a single thing.
You're
Right.
not a rationalist, though.
Well, no, I not.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how you're defining it, I suppose.
Well,
The-
when you
I
say
think-
how you can garner knowledge, we're talking about an epistemology, and I'm just curious what your epistemology is, since you're saying. I mean, we're talking about revelation.
Well, there are lots of ways of garnering knowledge, but that's not really the problem, right? It's the fact that we've lost sight of the fact that the pursuit of knowledge can actually be destructive, and this is the place that we've arrived in now. The pursuit of knowledge has become destructive to our civilization, and we need to recognize that.
Doomer says
Pursuit
I'm a
of
moral
knowledge has-
fictionalist.
Moral fictionalist.
Yeah.
The pursuit
I
of
agree,
knowledge
I
has
think-
become destructive to our civilization.
Yes.
Where,
And
and,
when
how
you-
did you
and
come
what
to that
you-
knowledge? Was it
and what
personal
you mean by
revelation?
that-
Was it scientific surveys?
Study, personal experience.
Scientific survey, yeah. What you mean by that is that people have lost a sense of meaningfulness and meaning and purpose in their life, right?
But
Not
there's
like you're not
also-
afraid
no,
people
no.
are going to like nuke the world or anything.
Well, no. As I said, our civilizations are currently in collapse. Like in no, you laugh.
Where's my Tim Pool
But
beanie?
seriously,
I
in
need the
20
Tim Pool
years'
beanie for this
time-
one.
No, but in 20 years' time, we are going to see a real problem with just the number of human beings.
Mhm.
It's going to be
You
a
don't-
real problem.
you don't
China's
think-
having
you
this
don't-
problem right now.
You think, well, first of all, I'm not sure
because
I
they
buy
went
it.
through their one-child policy.
To
I don't
me-
know why you guys are laughing about this. The numbers are in. Like
To
they're
me,
in. We know
China's
the
a
birth rate.
genocidal-
It's a
Numbers
problem.
are in.
China's a bunch of genocidal maniacs. I don't care about them. They can fuck
Yeah,
off.
they're an instructive example as to what's already
Well, I don't know
happened.
about you, but in America, we're going to keep. We have enough immigration that doesn't matter what the birth rate is.
Right, so you're
currently.
just going to become a black hole for demographics.
Sure. What do you mean a black hole? I don't know what
Yeah.
you mean by that.
Well, as in, people will go to America and stop
Mm-hmm.
reproducing.
We'll let them leave. Okay, there's no event horizon to
Yeah.
America. You want to visit your
Well,
folks?
no,
and-
but that's the point, because eventually word's going to get back that basically America is like a dead end for bloodlines. Like grandparents won't get grandchildren if their children move to America.
If that's
what they'll
people's,
end up
if
doing.
that's people's choice, that's what makes them happy. Then okay.
Oh, you use the word, Sitch. How
Okay.
dare you?
I know. I'm so sorry.
But then, do you not think that if people stop moving to America because the quality of life there declines because they've allowed their civilization to fall into rack and ruin?
Well, you're
That you've
making a
not
bunch
got
of
a
jumps
problem.
here. You're making a bunch
No,
of
I
jumps
don't
here.
think so. I think these are
Why
totally
is
inevitable.
America in decline? Because the birth rate's down, but then
Well, that's
people are
one
immigrating,
reason.
so the
there
birth
are
rate
lots of other
isn't
reasons. Look
going
at your
down.
currency. Holy fuck, man!
Our currency.
Like you're on the edge of hyperinflation. You're honestly. I'm looking at America. I'm thinking I'm terrified of your future. I can't believe you're not. Frankly, like this all feels like the laughter of the damned to me. Like it's mad. It's mad that you find what Biden has done.
How
to
many
the
years
country
have to
fine.
go by for us to have this conversation again? And it's no longer the laughter of the damned, but maybe you were
Well, I don't-
overreacting a little bit.
Well, God, I hope I was. But like the numbers are incontrovertible. Like you're not denying the numbers. You're just denying the
No,
consequence.
I don't even have to get into any of this stuff because that's not our argument is about you saying, oh, I think our society is in a bad place, so I want to get rid of this very broad framework that led this one place in
Yeah.
this one society in this one place at this
Yeah,
one time.
yeah. The
Okay,
complete
right.
focus on liberating the will from the flesh needs to go. There are other ways that you can be happy. It doesn't have to be changing the body of the human being. Changing the way that you think about being a human can also make you happy.
But it sounds like it's weird because I've literally never conceptualized any of this the way you're conceptualizing.
But you every time you've come up with a counter argument, it's we'll just genetically engineer the human.
No.
That's
Well,
my
because
argument, but
it's
not really.
you're acting like we're coming up with these counter arguments because we're playing along with your premise.
Yeah.
Okay?
But it's
We're
because-
granting you these premises and we're playing along with them to see where it goes. It's not like our only counter arguments because we don't agree. We don't agree with the entire framework what you're laying down here because
But you
it
are
sounds
trapped within this view.
Well, I'm thinking about this because you're saying because it sounds like you're just taking the opposite position where you think that the will should be the slave to the body, which I don't see why that's any better.
When did I say that?
You didn't. I'm saying it's what it sounds like. This is the road you're going down.
But this is the all or nothing, right? Where it's like, he disagreed with me, he must believe the opposite of me. It's like,
Well, no, because if your argument is, people aren't being happy, and then we say, well, it doesn't matter because people are going to genetically engineer themselves to be happy. Okay, whatever. And you say, no, people should instead figure out what their body naturally does to make them happy and do those things. So it's what you're saying. You're saying that the will should be a slave to the body.
No. The will is a product of the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not superior
Or
to
our mental states. I guess that's what we're talking about, right? Not really our wills, but
sure,
like
it just will is your consciousness, right?
our conscious.
Right. So, but it is a product of the body. So its proper place is not above the body. Right. And so there needs to be like a harmony between the two. And if you look at like how humans lived for all time until the last 300 years or so, that was understood in every civilization.
Not really.
Yeah, absolutely was. I knew you'd just say no to that, but that's wrong. That's totally false. It's absolutely true that every civilization has a kind of way of harmonizing the events of a human life at each stage of the human life. Right? Every single one of them does. And, this is what religion is about for the most part. Like the obsession of the technical details of the Bible is just like, honestly, pathetic autism at this point. It this rationalizing getting old and dying and what happens after you're dead and stuff like this, and coming to terms with the fact that you are mortal and you will die. Like this is what religion is really for.
But
and
Christianity,
I agree with all that though.
No, but I don't.
People are totally ignoring these days.
Christianity is not about harmonizing the will to live in accordance with the body. It's literally the opposite of that. No, it's about reining your body into check because your body is sinful.
Yeah.
No, it's about reining your desires in check.
And those come from the body.
Sure, but they're also
they don't come from the divine soul that God has given you.
No, but this depends who you talk to. But they're also a part of your will, as in you. And this is where the progressives are. They're like, oh no, actually, all of this vice is good, and I'm going to indulge in it to the maximum extent. And oh god, now I'm really fucking fat. Right? Society needs to stop demonizing fatness. We need fat positivity. No, you need to stop being such a fucking lard ass.
Okay,
right? Because you indulged your will, and because of the desires of your flesh, you didn't have any self-control. And these were the sorts of things, discipline and virtue, that religions were used to instill.
This is why it's just so weird to me, because your fat example is the perfect example. Your will is being led around by the nose by your body, not the other way around. Your body's not protesting as you shove another piece of cake in your mouth. Your body's going, feed me more.
No, it's not. That's not true at all. Like,
it's
your body is totally groaning under the fucking weight.
This is literally the entire point of the elephant and the rider. Your body is the elephant. Your will, your consciousness is the rider. That's the part that has no control.
The body isn't the elephant. The elephant is your ego or some sort of emotional state in your mind.
No, it is not. Your elephant is your emotional and quick reactions.
Unconscious, yeah.
Yes, it's your body.
That's not your body. Like your heart is. No, listen, your heart is laboring like fuck under the strain of all the fat that you've got in you. That's not like the body being like, give me more.
If I'm at a restaurant and the waiter puts down a big slice of chocolate fudge cake, okay, and my body's like, put that in your mouth right now.
It is your body saying that, or is your mind saying that?
But in my mind, well, no, there's some part of me, there's some little part of me that's like, that's bad for you, okay? Yeah. Which one of those is the elephant and which one of those is the rider?
Well, they're both in your mind.
Yeah, but this goes all the way back to height. Your consciousness, your mind, your will evolved to suit the needs
Okay.
of your body, not
But
the inverse.
If we could ask your heart or your arteries what they thought,
They don't have consciousness.
yeah, I know, but if they had, if we could get their opinion, I don't think they're going to be pro eating cake.
That why do people
So
eat
if we're
things?
gonna
Wait,
fit to,
why do
like,
people
your
eat
body-
things that are bad for them?
Lots of reasons, right? But like,
Why are things that are bad for us
body is,
taste
like
good?
the physical like ability for it to function, probably not very in favor of chocolate cake.
No. Why do unhealthy things taste good to human
I
beings?
don't care. I don't know.
You have to
right?
care because
No, I
this is the
don't.
heart
It
of your
doesn't matter.
argument.
Right? No, it's not. It's not in any way. At
Yes, it
all.
is. They
Mine.
taste good
No, it's
because
not.
your body.
Fucking what?
When you
Gotcha.
put the chocolate cake in your mouth, your body sends little signals according to taste from your tongue into your brain that makes you
Great,
feel
yeah,
good.
because thousands of years ago, we so rarely had something sweet or calorific and we needed
Yes.
it to survive. But we're
Exactly.
not in that position now. So we
Exactly.
need discipline.
I agree, but discipline is
Right.
not listening to the
That's not
body. It's literally the opposite.
No, it is about listening to your body. Just there are different parts of it. You can't just simplify this all out to body says good. You know, like there are different aspects of this. And you know, the immediate sensory desire to get this thing because monkey brain says, "Oh, eat the honey" or something,
Right.
is not the same as your heart going, "Please don't eat any more fucking sweets."
Our heart
you know,
doesn't say anything. Our heart doesn't have a voice.
Well, when your chest starts hurting, I think it does.
My
actually.
heart has a voice.
When something starts hurting because of the things you're doing, I think we can fairly describe that as it's saying to
Yeah, but
your brain, please stop.
it's weird. Yeah, but again, that is you using the discipline to override your body's desire. Because even if your heart hurts, even
Yeah,
if
but
your
your body
leg
has
hurts, or your arms
contradicting
hurts,
desires.
all
Like you're acting like the body just acts in concert. And the thing is, it doesn't even matter because all I'm saying is we need to start thinking about how we are as human beings, right? Again, like trying to break down, like, you know, oh, the body says, I don't give a fuck what the body says, right? We need to start thinking about like what is good in general as a whole, holistically for a human being. And filling your face with cake and then trying to engineer society to be not fat phobic ain't it.
But this is why I disagree with your framing, because in my conception of the world, the mind has to tame the body. And you're saying that's a bad thing.
No, I'm saying the mind has to tame itself. How about that?
Your question mark?
But it doesn't matter where your desires come from, right? It doesn't
Well,
really
kind
matter.
of does. If you're advocating a way to fight them, you have to know where they come from.
No.
No.
Literally thousands of years, people didn't know where they came from, and yet they still did a perfectly adequate job of teaching themselves virtue.
Sargon, what would convince you that the world is not on the verge of utter catastrophe?
A replacement birth rate, money that wasn't being inflated out of control, a
why-
desire for people to actually be patriotic,
Why is it-
so
why
they might
is-
fight for their countries.
Why is a
Like-
replacement birth rate important to you?
Well, it's important because we have systems.
If we
And our
had
society is built on systems, and these systems are breaking down. I mean, you should see the state of the NHS at the moment, the absolute fucking
Well,
state of it.
I
Like
don't know what you
listening to
mean.
American leftists going, "Oh, we need something like a European healthcare system." We ain't going to have a healthcare system.
I don't
if
know.
Things keep going on as well.
I don't know what you mean by systems. I would say that you need the birth rate to keep going up because a lot of our, I guess maybe that's what you're saying, a lot of our systems rely on continually people buying into it because most economies are essentially like a giant pyramid scam to some
You
extent.
don't want things to just continually go up,
Six,
but you want them
that's
to be at a
bad.
sustainable
But
rate,
that's,
right?
that's sort of the way it works, though.
population is going to level out at 10 billion. This has already been pretty well researched.
Yeah, but then it's going to collapse.
No, it's
so-
it's going to
Yeah,
it's
it
going to
is.
stay steady. As people get richer, they have less kids. As the
Yeah.
world gets richer, you're going to have less people having kids. We're going to level out
Yeah.
at a population of 10 billion. Automation is going to be more than enough to take over for the employment process. I mean, we're going to have more humans than we need. We're going to be down to a 3-day work week within our
How many
lifetime.
humans do we need, Adam?
Sargon, how do you feel about a 3-day work
We're gonna have
week?
robots. We don't need any humans.
How many
Like
humans
why
do we need?
why do we pick
How did you come
why
to
do we
this number?
pick a 5-day work week, Sargon? Why not a 3-day
I mean,
work
I
week?
can tell you how many humans we need from my perspective and how I came to this number.
Is life better with a 3-day work week or a 5-day work week?
No.
I'm curious.
Probably not. But I don't know.
Probably
Either
not.
way,
That's not an answer.
Why can't be certain?
Which is better?
I can't be certain. I can't give you a
can't
firm
be
answer.
certain. Sargon, this is the easy question. It's first of all, it's
How can I give
multiple
you a firm answer to
choice.
this?
It's like just pick one.
Don't you think it's concerning that
Mm-hmm.
we're in a position that needs to be changed, right? We need people to start forming relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But have you looked at the marriage rates, the birth rates, right?
I mean, it's kind of a dodge, but you're not really answering the question.
No,
I
but
think
you're not
a
answering my
superabundance of
question. That's the
leisure
thing.
time most people would enjoy.
Who cares? Yeah, but it turns out they don't.
Think how much philosophy
You've
they
got a
could read.
superabundance of fucking leisure time. You've got loads of people who are depressed and on benefits who kill themselves. Like, it's not
I
good,
just
man.
looked up
People
the
need-
suicide
people need
rate, and
meaning.
I just looked up the suicide rate, and it's not as bad as you're making out to.
It's the worst it's
More-
ever been.
More. Listen, if
We have never had as many
five
people as now
if
killing
5
themselves.
people a year kill themselves,
It's
and
way
then
more than
next year
5.
10 people a year kill themselves, you're going to say, "Oh my God, the suicide rate doubled." But really, it's not even. Look, accidents
In America, it's 13 per 100,000 people will commit suicide.
and look, accidents
And that's
is
going up.
50.
That's going up.
Unintentional accidents
Yes,
is
so what?
50.
But this is people who are literally like, you know what, I can't live in this fucking materialistic paradise anymore. I'm going to fucking blow my brains out.
Yeah, but
You don't think that's
I'm
a problem?
saying
And that's going up.
people accidentally walking off the side of a building.
Who
that's, like,
cares?
higher.
But that's unintentional. People intentionally killing themselves because they can't live in your utopia is higher than it's ever been before. And that's not a problem.
You're still dodging on the 3-day work
Yeah,
week.
but you're not answering my point.
If you had a
Like,
3-day
you
work
can't
week, you'd have
pretend
more
our
time.
civilizations are in good shape, man. It's fucking mad. Like, none of the statistics bear out that at all. Like how we can look at what's going on and not be concerned is beyond me.
People do point to the suicide rate, and there has been an uptick in the suicide rate since.
But then, okay, let's have a look at depression rates. What have depression rates been like over the past 50 years?
Everybody's using depression just so they can get likes on fucking
I don't
Twitter.
think they
Of
are.
course
I think they're genuinely depressed.
okay. I'm a little suspect. Of
I think that's from
depression
all the
rates.
lead people inhaled from gas, and they passed it down to their children.
Self-report.
Okay, well, this is
Self-reporting
interesting.
depression. How would you answer on a depression
You know that
survey?
in the
You
70s,
don't-
before
you
they
don't
took
think
lead out
people
of the
are depressed
gas,
then?
people had, when they took lead out of gas, people's lead values in their bodies went down 97%.
That's fascinating.
Sargon, we're not going to convince each other, and I don't want you to be discouraged.
That's only because
by that.
you're not thinking through the consequences of where we are. You're not denying the statistics I'm telling you. You're just saying, oh, well, there's going to be no consequence of these statistics.
No, it's because, and this is very reminiscent of our conversation with Dave, where it's like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
going
know.
to say that society's bad and beat you over the head with it. And it's like, okay, whether society is good or bad is not even the thing that interests me enough to focus on. What interests me is that the framework which you're conceptualizing to fix that problem seems completely
What framework have I
backwards to me.
conceptualized.
Because you're sort of like framing, because you're framing like people's desires to indulge on things that are bad for them as the product of reason, and the solution to that is to go and listen to our animal instincts. Where in
No,
my framework, it's
I've
literally
never
the
at any point
opposite.
said we need to listen to our animal instincts.
Well, you're saying we need
about
to
any of
listen
this.
to like the harmony of our bodies or whatever.
No, we need to change the way we think about being human.
Mhm.
Okay,
Like, 'cause
but
your
that's a
view
really
is that we can just
broad
change-
statement.
Okay, but you understand me perfectly well. Like, because you,
Well, I don't know what that. I don't know what that. I understand what that entails. because
Okay, yeah,
we've
but
been talking
listen,
for
listen.
3 hours,
Every
but-
time I've said, right, okay, here's a problem. We need to do something about it. You're like, great, we can just genetically engineer humans or something like that, right?
I don't think Sitch ever
That's
said
how
that.
you think of being a human. To you, a human is a fungible, changeable thing that we can just use science to fix
I view,
because we're on this rail that
That's
we're
not how
not
I view
allowed to
being human.
change in your
I-
worldview.
That's not
Right.
how I view being human.
But that's
Is
what you
that
said.
fundamentally we are animals that were designed
We
by
weren't designed.
evolution, by the process
weren't
of
designed.
evolution.
We weren't
Okay.
designed by evolution.
I'm just using the term design. We
Yeah, but that's
became
wrong.
these humans because of the process of evolution that were
Mhm.
suited to live as hunter-gatherers in these small tribes, and that we don't live in those societies, and we're never going to live in those societies again. And so we're
Yeah.
going to not be very happy about it because our bodies and our minds were not developed through evolution to live the
so
kind of lifestyles
we are
we're living.
unhappy with the current state of affairs. Is now.
So we
But
only have,
some
to my
people
mind,
are going to
we
be
only have two
happy and
options.
some people aren't, though.
We only have two options. We either go back to monkey, which I don't want to do, or we science our way out of it. And I'm on the side of
we
sciencing
actually
our way out
have
of it.
more options than that.
No, we don't. I'm afraid we don't.
Of course we do.
Because there's something that you're not thinking about, which is that
Oh, God.
evolution designed us to not be happy 100% of the time on purpose. Okay.
No, happiness isn't something you time. Again, like I keep saying, we've changed the way we think about things. Is you equate happiness with pleasure, and so you can measure the amount of time eating.
You're,
No, it's not even what I
totally
mean.
assigning
That's not even what I
positions
mean,
to us
right?
that we don't have, Sargon.
I don't think people could be
No, but that's what you just did.
content 100%. What? Okay.
Let's
back up for a second.
Yeah,
you,
I
you were
didn't.
content over a period of years, right? And there will
What
be
is-
times in your life where you're not content. Where
What
you're
is
not
the
happy,
point?
Right?
Wait. What is the point of the feeling of contentment?
Does
it
states
exist?
of well-being and
No.
meaning.
Why do humans have this feeling in the first place?
Content means
I don't know
relax.
why.
It means sit down and put your feet up. It means
Not
stop
necessarily.
working.
Why can human beings feel this feeling of contentment?
I have no idea why.
What do you mean you don't know why? Of course you know why.
Why?
Human beings evolved to have this feeling of contentment.
That's
Right?
how though. That's not a why. That's a how.
That is a why. What do you mean? That's exactly why.
Well, what was the intent behind evolution to give?
There
us
was no
this?
intent.
Right.
Oh, no.
So it's a how.
It's a
How it
process
arrived,
because human beings that felt this sense were better at surviving. Okay, or animals, because
Maybe.
it's probably
Yeah, they
way
didn't commit
beyond
suicide.
humans, okay?
They didn't
It's
just
probably-
kill themselves. You're right.
Right. But this probably goes way back. This is probably even way before humans. Okay.
Probably, yeah.
The whole entire point of emotions are just biochemical ways to get animals to be motivated to engage in certain behaviors.
Okay, that's a very materialistic, one-dimensional view of things. Who cares?
Do you disagree?
I don't care.
What do you mean you don't care?
Well, okay, like, light is just photons going into my eyes. Sound is just airwaves vibrating in my ears. So I didn't enjoy the film?
No, because you're basing a philosophy on happiness,
Yeah.
on an emotion of contentment.
Yeah.
And I'm saying you have to understand what that emotion is and where
but
it comes from.
you can't reduce that to the scientific components of it. The material components. That's not, because again, like, you've just reduced all art to merely the
No.
chemical reactions in my brain. It's like, yeah, because
Well,
that's
you know
not-
what? If someone said, I want to base my society on a movie, or not even a movie, on the color blue, I might say, maybe we should understand what the color blue is before we base our society around it. But we're not
Well,
doing that when
it's
we
a pigment.
appreciate art,
Why?
are we?
Well, I don't know, but like, I just think this is totally reductive and not helpful at all.
It's not reductive. You can't base your entire philosophy on trying to seek contentment if you don't understand what contentment is or where it comes from
Well,
without falling
contentment is a
into a
general
pitfall.
feeling of well-being.
But what I'm getting at is that the reason humans feel these feelings is an evolved process to get them to be motivated to
do
engage in
things.
some behavior.
Yeah,
to
but
do
so
things.
what?
Okay. So that's why I said your framework is essentially saying that humans' will, their consciousness, should be a slave to these evolved processes of being an animal. And this is our
I think
fundamental
that slave is a bit of a
disagreement.
harsh word. I think it's the reality that the will is a product of the body, and so that should be acknowledged and taken into account when we're making decisions about how our lives should be. I mean, look, the slave. Oh,
Okay,
it's a
so-
slave. Yeah, your will is a slave of your body. Deal with it.
But is this
Fucking deal with it. What is the? No, seriously, what is this fucking framing? Oh, I'm a slave. And that's ridiculous, man. It's fucking ridiculous. And have we arrived at the point where, like, so we need to liberate our will from our enslaving bodies? Come on, this is silly. Right? But really, what we have is a massive depression epidemic. Like, we have young people who don't know how to form relationships, which seem to be the real content of what it is to be a human, is your relationships with other people. And we've totally failed them. And so now they're sat isolated on their fucking phones, miserable as shit, as suicide skyrocket. And you're like, yeah, this civilization's going great. This isn't going great. This is not going great.
A product of you not believing that humans' will ever be, quote unquote, liberated from the slaves of their body's instincts. So basically they have to like learn to get along with it.
I don't believe that the human mind is a slave of the body.
So you don't agree with like the elephant rider?
No,
scenario?
I don't agree with your framing. The
But that's
use of the word
basically what the
slave
elephant
has a moral dimension.
What
I
word
don't
should
agree
we
with.
use instead of slave?
It's a property of the body.
It's beyond that.
How?
Because so much of people's consciousness, so much of what people are is a product of things that are chemical processes that are going on in their bodies that they don't realize.
So what?
No, but what do you mean so what? That's what I'm talking about.
But who cares though?
That's the elephant. That's the elephant that drives you along the path 99% of the time. That's what we here at the Sitch and Adam Show. We're trying to get rid of the elephant's control and say, hey, rider, wake up. You got to start controlling where your elephant's going.
Yeah, but we've been trying to do that for 300 years, and it's made everyone miserable.
Do you think letting the unconscious gut intuitions make the decisions?
Okay, so we
for
don't
us,
have a
that's
depression
gonna make us
epidemic.
happy?
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying we haven't been. I'm saying just because we have science doesn't mean we're following our riders. What do you mean? Everything is complete. We talk about how everything is completely tribal and controlled by our elephants nowadays.
I don't buy into the depression epidemic or the suicide epidemic either. Even every time you say suicide is skyrocketing, I'm like,
yeah,
nah.
Well, there's more suicides now than there ever have been. So, I mean, what would a metric be that would satisfy? Yes. As far as we can tell, more people commit suicide now than have ever been in all of human history. So what would an epidemic look like to you?
Well, I mean, it's not like we've been.
I'm just saying, like,
things,
where's this
since until modern times, anyway.
Yeah, were we keeping track of suicide rates during World War II? I'm curious.
Yeah, but probably
a
lot of our problems now, I'd argue, from modern times stems from the fact that we, have gone on to this neoliberal
all you're
economic
arguing
system.
here is that we don't need to change, right? You're saying that nothing needs to change, and I'm saying something does need to change.
When did I say that?
I think Sargon
because everything you're saying is against the idea of changing the way.
No, you're saying you want to change what you believe is a fundamental property, and I'm saying I don't want to change that. I don't want to change out people wanting to follow and believe in the idea of the scientific approach and scientific method. No, I don't want to throw that out. Well, I don't think that's a culprit here.
Right. So, I'm not saying that we need to burn the books that teach us about the scientific method, right? I'm saying that we've arrived at a place where science can't solve the problem.
And what is going to solve the problem? Let's just humor you for a second.
Ethics is going to solve the problem.
So what is ethics? Explain that to us.
Ethics is what we should be doing with our lives.
So hold on a second here, because some of us work for a living. I don't know that we have time to run around doing ethics with our lives. What do you mean specifically? What do you mean by
ethics is how you decide what you should and shouldn't do. Everyone does it on a daily basis.
But in my estimation, people have different ideas of ethics. So how do we orient everyone on the same page ethically?
Well, generally that's what our conversations are about, like what we should and shouldn't do. And I think we've arrived at a place where we should start making considerations about things like teaching young people that maybe their futures matter. And they don't actually. I mean, for example, right? I posted something on my Getter account the other day, earlier, right? So it's this 4chan post from some girl. She's like, "Be me, be 24-year-old feminine. Invite guy over from Tinder. He's super cute, possible boyfriend. Have sex. Don't really enjoy the sex, but pretend that he comes. He grabs a bottle of wine, then leaves. And then she's like, why do all my Tinder dates end like this? I just want to be held. I just want companionship, right?" That's not a happy woman, and she's no idea why all of her dates end badly for her, right?
If she had a scientific approach.
I know an antidote is really not the way to say society is falling apart is not to look at some random antidote on the internet.
If she tracked her
this is just one example, right? And this is just one example of decisions that millions of young women have to go through.
On an emotional level, I bet she could find out real quick what's causing her problems in life.
Well, okay. Well, how would science establish it?
You say, oh, look at this. Well, look at who are the people that are happy, and what is the philosophy that they're living by, and who are the people that are all seem to be totally miserable, like Lindsay Ellis, bring it back to topic, and totally anxious prone. And what kind of philosophies are they living by? Okay, that would be a scientific approach.
Scientific ones. People who believe in science. No, I mean, if you look at the Muslim world, Muslim women don't have this problem.
To do with this, you're conflating like this neo-Marxian deconstructing of all narratives to the scientific approach. I don't know why you're doing this.
Because the scientific approach is the sovereignty of reason, the sovereignty of technical knowledge, right? And so it's the idea that we
everything
can.
is not the sovereign of reason, though. It's just deconstructing everything.
No, the sovereignty of reason is the idea that essentially, like, science can solve everything. Which is your position.
That's not the issue that. Okay, so in America in the 1950s, when we all lived in the magical world that everyone was happy.
Who said America in the 1950s?
I'm saying it.
Okay, but I don't.
When there was low suicides and there was a positive birth rate.
I don't actually know what
there was
suicides were like.
There was a woman in every kitchen and a chicken in every pot.
You could smoke on the bus, Sitch. Don't forget about that.
You could smoke on the bus.
Okay.
And we had our nice little light picket fences. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was there less science in the 1950s than there is now?
Absolutely.
There's an idea.
Do you think we've always had this level of university attendance?
It was actually the opposite. People in those days were way more trusting of science and everything.
Yeah, but that's because there were way fewer people doing it.
Like, I mean, they signed people up for lobotomies on the reg.
Yeah. Scientists used to lobotomize people. I agree.
Yeah, I know.
Scientists are fucking awful.
Crazy.
People took those vaccines in the 1950s like they were candy.
We've already been over how you guys would decant lobotomized babies to suck their blood.
Yes.
Right? Scientists
that
have
was
no
Sitch.
standards whatsoever.
That was Sitch. I'm innocent. I'm going to pay the baby.
Right. Yeah, but this is the point, though, right? Yeah, scientists have always had this weird blind spot because they think the human body is just a thing that can just be, malleably, done away with. Whereas that's not the case.
Babies are not good for the meshing of the circulatory systems. You got to get someone at the age range that you want to be, Sargon. It would have to be someone like 20.
Well, what if we genetically engineer a 20-year-old to be real small so we can carry them around like in a pouch all day?
Maybe. I mean, I don't believe in human rights either. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Your pouch 20-something? Come on.
My pouch 20.
This is the thing. What solution do you have for this young woman who's like, I don't know why I can't find a relationship?
Well, we could try slut shaming. I think that got us.
No, because again,
but that's the answer, Adam.
Has literally nothing to do
the answer.
With science.
She's having sex on the first date. That's the problem.
What you're discussing has nothing to do with science. What you're discussing is that the idea that people are happy if they try to create stable families and stable family frameworks instead of going and fucking everyone. Okay, this has nothing to do with science. This is a deconstruction of quote unquote conservative social narratives.
Right. Okay. But it does have everything to do with rationalism, right?
How so?
First of all, I am not a rationalist. Okay, I don't. When you're beating up rationalists, I'm right there with you. Okay,
good.
They're idiots.
Yeah, and they deserve to be shamed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great. But the rationalists are also the people who believe in the sovereignty of reason. There's a reason there's such a Venn diagram overlap of these people, right?
They elevate reason to a level,
but I don't want to hear
level, I believe.
I don't want to hear like the Hitler drinks water, so water's bad argument, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but
I want to hear like you said that.
I'm not even saying science is bad. I'm saying people.
You are. You're saying science is causing the problem of woke girls not reproducing and having happy families. Okay.
No, I'm saying that the sovereignty of reason and the sovereignty of technique is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The sovereignty of reason, the sovereignty of technique. I don't even know what that means, but
okay. I do know what that means.
Okay.
I explained it earlier on in this conversation.
Are you saying so? You're saying we should abandon reason, or we should be skeptical of reason? I mean, I am skeptical of reason. That's why I'm not a rationalist.
I'm saying that there are other ways of learning things.
Yeah, I agree. I'm an empiricist. Yeah. Like trial and error is the best way of learning something.
Yeah, I think it actually is, and this is why we essentially have to look at our traditions and be like, right, okay, well, what about those actually contains knowledge and has valuable experience that can't be measured by science? And this girl fucking a guy on the first date, this is where tradition really has some good answers.
This is like an anecdote from the internet, Sargon. You shouldn't let it like get
this could be measured by science. What? I don't know why.
Do you think she's the only girl?
No,
on the entire planet who's fucking guys on the first date and doesn't know why they're leaving?
Sitch and I argued about this.
Yeah, but you're trying to dodge. You're trying to do a dodge here. That's exactly what it's got. It's an anecdote.
You gonna let me finish? You gonna let me finish?
Come on.
Like I'm in the middle of giving you an answer that's not a dodge.
That was a dodge.
No, this isn't a dodge. Listen, Sitch and I argued about this, And I was taught, we got in a huge fight over women that are trying to turn men into cucks, and how there's this huge number of,
Right.
single moms out there looking for some cuck dad that they can take care of their kid with. Sitch and I got in a huge heated debate about it. I went and looked at the numbers, and it's not the kind of problem that I suspected it was. Sure, yes, single motherhood is.
In the black community, 75% of children are born out of wedlock. I think it's a fucking huge problem.
Yeah, but they went into this, and
I mean, fucking hell, man! Like, it looks like hell.
But wait a minute,
because they're out of wedlock does not mean that the father is not a part of their lives. It costs money to get married. Okay, it costs money to
listen. 50 years ago, everyone got married, and everyone was fucking poor.
Yeah, it was culturally acceptable 50 years ago.
This is a bullshit excuse. This is a bullshit excuse, right? It's not the fact that the black people are too poor to get married that is the reason they're not.
Well, it's not
married.
just black people, because white people are not getting married either.
I agree. It's a huge problem.
Well, I mean,
massive problem. It's humongous.
Not for me to force people. I mean, I would prefer if people got married, and I think the science. I know I'm not supposed to use science, Sargon, but
who cares about the science?
The science says that a couple that is cohabitating and unmarried. A lot of people will say, "Well, it's just like we're married," but it's not. The outcome for children of parents cohabitating unmarried is similar to that of single mothers, which is not very good. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm all for people. Yeah, because kids can tell. They're like, oh, mom and dad live together, but they're not married. Like Timmy's parents are married. I'm not. This thing could break up any time. I might be living on the street soon.
It's hard. Science now backs up my position. Right?
Yeah, no, I think people should get married. I listen. I honestly do.
Science has always backed up that people should get married to have stable kids.
Sargon, I said the science backed up your position. It's a shame that you're unable to
use
it.
I don't care that the science backs it up or doesn't back it up. If the science was totally against that, I wouldn't care.
But you do care, because your argument was that following science led us to this place, and that's the disagreement.
It did.
But it doesn't. If the science agrees, what's the
point of a no-fault divorce? What's the point of a no-fault divorce?
Sargon,
What's that to do with science?
No, it's about the sovereignty of reason. It's about the sovereignty of the will. This is what I started with: the sovereignty of the will.
Okay.
Because the natural human condition is oppressive to progressives. That's what I started with. You're the one who's obsessing about science. I don't care about science, really. Science just needs to be in its proper place.
You brought it up. I'm just saying.
I doubt it. But
you did. That's why Adam stopped the conversation.
This is about the sovereignty of the will.
Am I allowed to use science to shame people into getting married? Because I kind of would like to. So,
I mean,
this
if
is
you've
about
got
the
a way of doing
sovereignty.
I say go for it.
Yeah. So again, you're saying that
anything that shames them into being less progressive, like
you're saying that when you say sovereignty of the will, basically you mean that we're like a bunch of hedonists, right?
The decisions, the desires of a person's will at any fleeting moment take precedence over everything.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we've arrived at now.
Sure.
Science is an aspect of that. This totally aligns with scientific thinking.
I think it's literally the opposite, but we can move on from that
this is why every solution as well will just change the body then to accommodate the will instead of changing the will to accommodate the body.
No, that's not
And you
that's not
that as slavery.
No, that's not to using quote unquote using science to change your body to match your will. Is not saying, oh, we have the fleeting desire. It's saying we don't want to have to necessarily be led around the nose by our evolved processes. We want to be able to make our own. We want the choice.
Yeah, we don't want to be cucked by evolution.
We want choice to make our own decisions. And you're saying people can't be trusted to make choices.
No, people make choices all day, every day. Right? But you're saying that the decision of the will needs to override the reality of the body.
Why shouldn't it?
Because
I'm confused.
It's making us unhappy.
Sargon.
And it's also
it hasn't been making us unhappy.
Sargon,
that's not what's happening.
What's
happening is what's happening is that we've literally existed in a world of superabundance that we didn't have before, and we're becoming slaves to the body's desires. That's
No,
why I
we're
don't
coming straight
understand
to
the
our
way
will.
you're
It's-
framing this.
Yes, Sitch, hold on one second here. Everyone,
Running around
just
in circles.
take a deep breath, okay? I'm curious. Sitch, tell me, is Sargon making a case for the rider or the elephant? Is he making a case that we should strengthen our will or give in to our carnal
This is
desires?
what I'm confused because it's like me and Sargon are conceptualizing the rider and the elephant as
Differently.
completely reversed.
Okay. So that makes
I'm
sense.
not talking about the rider and the elephant at all. So
Well, you sort of are though.
no.
What I
Okay.
mean, he brought up an example of some, I'm sure,
I'm
very
saying
nice
that we have
young
to
lady
accept
who
that there
had
are some
sex with
decisions we
somebody
can't
on the
make.
first date. And I'm curious where that fits in, because isn't she giving into her? Isn't like
Well, no, she's
not
well,
exercising will, right?
well, of course she's exercising her will, but she's making a bad decision
Mhm.
because nobody is advising her that this is a bad decision.
That's a very, I think, intellectualized way of the world that I don't think
And I think
exists.
people are probably advising her that it's a bad decision, but she's
I think
doing
people
it
are
nobody-
generally
anyway.
reacting
Nobody,
to
she
their
has no
impulses.
idea why this guy's leaving on the first date.
But
She
you're
has no
saying,
idea.
but you're saying nobody has told her that maybe that's a bad strategy.
Well, I mean, she's literally posting on a 4chan message board going, I don't understand why this is happening. So I'm guessing nobody has told her.
Okay. Well, they'll tell her
Well-
on 4chan. You can guarantee that.
Oh, I don't doubt that she got the
They'll give
answer
her-
in the thread. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but-
sure,
they'll
I'm
give-
sure they fucking did. And probably
They'll
quite
give her
right.
the
to-
411.
But
But I just-
50 years ago, that's not a question anyone would have asked, right? Everyone already knew the answer to this. Don't be a fucking slut. That's what.
Mhm.
That's
well, no,
the
see,
answer.
but I
You know
think you're
that's
I
the
think you're intellectualizing something that's not the case. 50 years ago, people didn't do it because they like intellectually said, "Oh, if I do this, it'll lead to a bad outcome." It's like, "Oh, if I do this, I'll be socially shamed and feel bad."
No, it's because they knew that men were
Mm.
after sex. Like you ask your mum. Your
Uh-huh.
mum's gonna be like, I'm not gonna put her on the first date because I want to him. You know, I'm gonna have a second date. Like this sort
Women
of
still know
old
guys are just
traditional
out for
knowledge
sex.
of-
That has not fallen out of common thought.
Sorry.
Women are still very aware that guys are mostly after fucking. That hasn't fallen out.
Yeah,
of
but
No,
they don't
there's some
understand.
girls that don't know that. Like,
They
no
also
one has
don't
given
seem
them
to-
the.
Surprising.
No one has.
Because to me, the framework is more like society saying girls can go after and have as much hollow sex
Yeah.
as men do. It's not a question of not realizing that there's hollow sex. It's saying go get the hollow sex. And that's very different.
Yeah, but there's a reason why women shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
and-
I don't think it'll lead to long-term happiness. I'm not
Yeah, and
in
that's what this
disagreement
woman's saying. She's like, I
Sure.
don't understand why I'm not getting the happiness that I was promised
about
by
that.
the feminists who said just be debaucherous. It doesn't matter, you know, just do it. It's
Mhm.
fine. And she's doing it, and she doesn't know why it's bad because no one is actually giving her like the life experience of her grandmother and great grandmother and great great grandmother, who every single one of them would have been like, don't be a whore. Don't be a whore. Don't be a whore.
Well-
and she'd be like, "Oh no, you're shaming me. You're shaming me." Yes, I'm shaming you for being a whore. You
Well,
know, you're not
she's
gonna
had
get
it.
me
It's
one
just
by being
been
a whore.
labeled as sexist. Basically.
Yeah, well, there we go. You know, and it's like, okay, but you can label that as sexist if you want, but that's not going to change the fact that your granddaughter is now unable to get a boyfriend,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and that she's going to end up miserable. and
Was she
alone.
posting
And this
anonymously
is-
on this thread? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's apparently. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see
she'll
what
be
this has to
fine,
do with
sorry.
like the
If
what
you
were
bring up
saying?
science, I swear to God,
I wasn't. I was going to bring up the will, the sovereignty of the will, or whatever.
because it's about choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's a choice she's not allowed to make here.
Are we done with Lindsay
I don't know
Ellis?
what you
Because
mean.
people are asking us if we're going to finish reading that big long thing.
I know.
Right? Okay. Yeah, let's go back to Lindsay Ellis.
Can we fall?
Adam did the thing. See, we haven't had Sargon on for a long time. He
I know.
forgot. He did the thing. He invited Sargon on,
Sorry.
and we had a
No, I knew
3-hour
it would happen.
conversation about something completely.
We've been
I
wanting.
knew.
We've been wanting to. Sargon is a tough guest to steer, but we can get him back to the conversation here. And
Oh.
Sargon,
We can.
why aren't we talking about the Jack Murphy cuck thing? Because it seems like it fits perfectly with this fucking conversation.
Doesn't it just? Like what the?
So
what,
let's
what the
finish
fuck is
Lindsay.
wrong with
Let's
that guy?
finish Lindsay Ellis and get on to the good stuff. Like, why ethics is boring, Sargon? Why do we have?
Well,
Why do you
but
want
the
to talk
thing is,
about
you guys have been
ethics for 5 hours? Come on.
honestly, because I've been really frustrated with you guys dodging, like
Dodging?
Dave.
What-
Yeah, no, you
what
have.
did
You've
we
been dodging
dodge?
distributist legitimate point. Like,
Come
this is
on.
the legitimate point that he's been driving at.
Listen, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. My life is great.
If this way,
I don't know why.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't watch Distributus's response video yet. If this is,
I told you you've been dodging.
if this is the if
You
he
didn't
has the
miss
same
anything,
point,
Sitch.
wait, if
You
he
didn't
had the
miss
same
anything.
point that you have for this 3-hour conversation, I don't think I've dodged it. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it's completely nonsense.
Yeah, but
Sargon, at least tell me you understand that people have different views of where we are as a society. Some people think things are going great. Some people think things are going terrible.
well, I mean, if you look at the polling, very few people think things are going great.
So, but does that?
Like,
I don't-
literally
Adam, I don't
30%
even-
of Americans.
Isn't that an appeal to popularity, though? Aren't you just saying?
Well, what's
like-
wrong with that?
I don't.
Well, I don't
even-
necessarily think that there's anything
I don't even
wrong
know,
with that, but-
Adam. I don't know why
So
you're
why bring
even,
it up?
I don't know why you're even agreeing to the framework.
Mhm.
Because I have a bigger problem with the framework than whether people are happy or not.
The happiness
Because I can grant
framework?
that people are not happy, and it just has nothing. The solution being provided is completely backwards.
Well,
We should start teaching people
At least-
the knowledge
actually,
of
it's-
traditions.
It's backwards in the way that you're framing it. Sorry, God.
Sitch
which is what I
don't
literally
understand.
doesn't want people to be happy. Is basically
No,
Let me
because
translate
usually
for-
this framework is this usually in terms of like kind of what you're advocating for. It's like this, tell your body to fuck off and find God. And it's weird because you're kind of like trying to
No.
base this in a not religious sense, and I don't think it's working, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
it's working either.
I mean, it is because
Okay.
you don't
Based
need,
on what
the
metric?
religion is like a crib, right? It's like
Mhm.
shorthand, right? For the people who aren't academic enough to understand, like in the ways that you guys would understand, right? And so it's not necessary for us to talk about religion. I mean, we could frame it in religious terms if you want to. I mean, I don't really want to, but like,
Did you
I'm
see
not
The
religious.
Matrix 4?
I did.
Wasn't it awful?
Yes.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.